The morning sun cast long shadows across the training compound as Staff Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted the shoulder strap of her custom rifle case. Around her, the other snipers from various military units unpacked their equipment with practiced efficiency. The International Precision Shooting Competition brought together the best marksmen from 12 different countries, and the atmosphere buzzed with competitive tension. Maria had worked 3 years to earn her spot here. At 28, she was one of the youngest competitors and the only woman in the sniper division. Her unit, the 75th Ranger Regiment, had initially hesitated to send her, not because they doubted her skills, but because they knew what she would face. She carefully removed her rifle from its case, and immediately, conversations around her died down. Several competitors stopped what they were doing to stare. Her weapon looked nothing like the sleek, modern rifles that surrounded it. Where others carried the latest precision instruments with advanced optics and tactical modifications, Maria held what appeared to be an antique. The rifle was a 1943 Springfield M1903A4, its wooden stock worn smooth from decades of use. The metal showed the patina of age, and the scope mounted on top looked primitive compared to the digital targeting systems her competitors used. To most observers, it seemed like bringing a horse to a car race. Captain Eric Lindqvist from the Swedish Armed Forces was the first to comment. "Is that a museum piece?" he asked with a smirk, loud enough for others to hear. "I thought this was a competition, not a historical exhibition." Laughter rippled through the group. Maria continued her preparation without responding, but she noticed how conversations shifted to include commentary about her choice of weapon. The French team leader, Major Philippe Dubois, shook his head in apparent disbelief. "Perhaps she is confused about which century we are in," he said to his teammate. The German competitor, Hauptfeldwebel Klaus Weber, examined his own state-of-the-art rifle and looked back at Maria's weapon. "That belongs in my grandfather's attic," he declared. How did they even allow such an outdated piece of equipment in a professional competition? Maria methodically checked her rifle's action, feeling the smooth operation of the bolt. Every component had been meticulously maintained and upgraded where possible, without changing the fundamental character of the weapon. The trigger had been professionally adjusted to a perfect 2-pound pull. The barrel had been re-crowned for maximum accuracy. Most importantly, she knew this rifle better than any other piece of equipment she had ever owned. As she worked, more competitors gathered to observe what they saw as an oddity. The British team captain, Major James Richardson, approached with what he probably thought was helpful advice. "Sergeant, are you certain you want to compete with that? I am sure we could arrange for you to borrow something more appropriate. This rifle and I have been together for 5 years, Maria replied calmly. "We understand each other." "Understanding is one thing," interrupted Staff Sergeant Mike Torres from the Marine Corps team. "But this is about precision at extreme distances. These competitions are won by hundredths of an inch. Your antique might be fine for historical reenactments, but against modern equipment?" He shrugged as if the outcome was obvious. The Russian competitor, Senior Lieutenant Alexei Volkov, examined Maria's rifle more carefully than the others. His expression showed professional interest, rather than mockery. "That is a fine weapon," he said quietly. "My grandfather carried one similar in the Great Patriotic War. But these are different times, different requirements." Maria appreciated his respectful tone, even if he shared the same doubts as the others. She finished her equipment check and prepared to move to the first firing position. The competition would consist of 3 events over 3 days: long-range precision at 1,000 yards, medium-range rapid engagement at 600 yards, and a complex scenario-based challenge that would test adaptability and field skills. As the competitors moved toward the 1,000-yard range, Maria noticed something else that made her stand out beyond her choice of rifle. While others wore the latest in tactical gear and camouflage, her equipment looked standard issue and well used. Her scope, though older, was a genuine Unertl 10X that had been rebuilt to modern standards. Her shooting mat was regulation military issue, not the high-tech alternatives preferred by many competitors. Rangemaster Colonel Patricia Hayes called the competitors to attention. A career soldier with 30 years of experience, She had seen every type of equipment and competitor imaginable. Ladies and gentlemen, you represent the finest marksmen your nations have to offer. This competition will test not just your shooting skills, but your ability to perform under pressure, adapt to conditions, and maintain composure when everything is on the line. The first day would involve precision shooting at paper targets. Each competitor would fire 10 rounds at 1,000 yards, with scoring based on group size and accuracy. Wind conditions were moderate, with a steady 8-mile-per-hour crosswind that would challenge even the most advanced equipment. As competitors prepared for their turns, Maria found herself assigned to the 4th firing position. This gave her time to observe the others and assess the conditions. The first 3 shooters achieved respectable groups, with the Swedish captain managing a 4.2-inch spread that earned him the early lead. When Maria's turn came, she moved to the firing line with quiet confidence. Behind her, she could hear whispered conversations about her equipment. Some spectators had actually gathered to watch what they expected to be an embarrassing performance. Military officials from various countries stood with arms crossed, waiting to see how the woman with the ancient rifle would fare against modern precision weapons. Maria settled into her shooting position, feeling the familiar weight and balance of her rifle. She had fired thousands of rounds through this weapon, studying its quirks and capabilities. Unlike the competitors with digital wind meters and ballistic computers, she relied on observation and experience. She watched grass move in the distance, felt the wind on her face, and made mental calculations based on years of practical application. Her first shot surprised everyone, including herself. The spotting scope confirmed a hit in the 9 ring, well within the scoring area. The second shot grouped tightly with the first. By the 5th shot, it became clear that something unexpected was happening. Maria's shots were not just hitting the target. They were forming a remarkably tight group. The laughter and casual conversation behind the firing line gradually died down. Competitors began paying closer attention to the woman with the old rifle. Range officials double-checked their spotting equipment to ensure they were reading the targets correctly. When Maria fired her final round and the targets were retrieved for official measurement, a stunned silence fell over the range. Her 10 shots had formed a group measuring 2.8 inches at 1,000 yards. It was not only the best performance of the day so far, it was exceptional by any standard. Captain Lindquist stared at the target in disbelief. "That cannot be correct," he said. "Check the measurements again." The range officials confirmed the results. Maria had achieved something that many competitors with the most advanced equipment had failed to match. Her ancient rifle and primitive scope had produced precision that exceeded modern tactical systems. Major Dubois approached Maria after the scores were announced. His earlier mockery had been replaced by genuine confusion. "How is this possible?" he asked. "Your equipment is decades old." "The rifle is old," Maria replied. "But it was built when precision mattered more than features. Every part was made to last and perform. I have simply learned to use what it offers." As word spread through the compound about the first day's results, Maria noticed a change in how others looked at her. The dismissive glances and amused whispers had been replaced by careful observation and grudging respect. Several competitors approached her equipment table to examine her rifle more closely. Hauptfeldwebel Weber ran his fingers along the rifle's stock. "The wood is beautiful," he admitted. "But I still do not understand how such basic equipment can compete with modern systems." "Modern systems compensate for things the shooter should already know," Maria explained. "Wind speed, distance, environmental factors. This rifle requires me to understand all those things myself. It makes me a better shooter." "Thanks for watching." Senior Lieutenant Volkov nodded thoughtfully. "In my country, we have a saying: the weapon is only as good as the warrior who wields it. Perhaps we have forgotten this lesson." The first day ended with Maria in the lead, but she knew the real challenges lay ahead. The second day would test rapid engagement skills, where the advanced features of modern rifles might provide clear advantages. The final day's scenario-based challenge would require adaptability and fieldcraft that could favor either approach. As she cleaned her rifle that evening, Maria reflected on the day's events. She had proven that her weapon could compete, but she also understood why others had doubted her choice. In a world increasingly dominated by technology, the idea that older, simpler tools might still have value seemed counterintuitive. Her rifle represented something different. It was a connection to previous generations of soldiers who had relied on fundamental skills rather than electronic assistance. Every time she used it, she honored their legacy while proving that basic principles of marksmanship remained unchanged. The other competitors were now taking her seriously, but she knew tomorrow would bring new challenges. The rapid engagement phase would test different skills, and her bolt-action rifle would face semi-automatic weapons designed for speed and volume of fire. As she prepared for sleep, Maria noticed something she had not seen before. Attached to her rifle case was a small, faded military unit patch that she had never paid much attention to. Looking at it now under the light, she could make out details that had been obscured by years of wear. The patch showed crossed rifles beneath a parachute, with text that was mostly illegible due to age. But in one corner, she could clearly see a designation that made her pause. Scout Sniper. Below that, barely visible, were the words, Confirmed kills, 97. Maria stared at the patch, realizing for the first time that her rifle had a history she knew nothing about. Someone before her had carried this weapon into combat and achieved extraordinary success with it. The rifle was not just old. It was proven. This discovery added new weight to her choice of weapon. She was not just competing with an antique. She was carrying forward the legacy of a sniper who had used this exact rifle to achieve remarkable results in actual combat. The emblem suggested that those who had laughed at her weapon choice might not understand its true significance. Tomorrow would reveal whether that legacy still had meaning in a modern competition. Dawn brought overcast skies and shifting winds to the second day of competition. The rapid engagement challenge would test each competitor's ability to acquire multiple targets quickly and accurately at 600 yards. Unlike the precision shooting of day one, this event favored speed and adaptability over pure accuracy. Maria arrived early at the range, her bolt-action rifle drawing renewed attention after her previous day's performance. The mood among competitors had shifted noticeably. Where yesterday brought mockery and dismissive comments, today carried an undercurrent of cautious respect mixed with curiosity about how an antique weapon had outperformed modern equipment. Captain Lindquist approached her during equipment preparation. "I studied the specifications of your rifle last night," he admitted. "The ballistics are actually quite impressive for something that old. But today's challenge is different. 10 targets, 90 seconds, bolt action against semi-automatic. Mathematics suggests this will be difficult for you." "Mathematics also suggested yesterday would be difficult," Maria replied while checking her rifle's action. The bolt moved with the smoothness that came from decades of careful maintenance and thousands of rounds fired through it. Major Richardson joined the conversation, his tone more respectful than the previous day. "Sergeant, I have to ask, where did you acquire such a weapon? It clearly has an interesting history." Maria looked down at the unit patch she had discovered the night before. In daylight, she could make out additional details. The designation, Scout Sniper, was clearly visible, along with what appeared to be a date, 1944 to 1945. Below that, the barely legible text, Pacific Theater, suggested this rifle had seen combat in World War II. "It belonged to my grandfather," she said, which was close to the truth. She had inherited it from her unit's armory, where it had been stored for decades after being donated by a veteran's family. The discovery of the patch had made her realize the weapon carried far more history than anyone had understood. "Your grandfather was a sniper in the war?" asked Senior Lieutenant Volkov with genuine interest. "Someone was," Maria replied, touching the faded patch. "This rifle has a record of 97 confirmed kills in the Pacific. It earned its reputation in actual combat, not on a shooting range." The announcement drew attention from other competitors. Hauptfeldwebel-Weber examined the patch more closely. 97 confirmed kills, he repeated slowly. "That is an extraordinary record for any sniper, in any war." "It explains the precision we saw yesterday," Major Dubois acknowledged. A weapon with such a history was clearly maintained and used by someone exceptional. Staff Sergeant Torres, who had been particularly dismissive the day before, studied Maria's rifle with new perspective. "I have to admit, if that weapon survived combat and maintained such accuracy, it deserves more respect than I gave it." Rangemaster Colonel Hayes called the competitors to attention. Today's challenge simulates battlefield conditions where targets appear unpredictably and must be engaged rapidly. You will face 10 targets at various distances between 400 and 800 yards. Targets will be exposed for different durations, from 5 seconds to 15 seconds. Miss a target during its exposure window, and it will not reappear. The scoring system favored both speed and accuracy. First-round hits earned maximum points, while follow-up shots received reduced scores. The challenge clearly advantaged semi-automatic rifles, which could fire multiple rounds rapidly without requiring manual bolt manipulation between shots. Maria watched the first 3 competitors work through the course. Each used advanced semi-automatic systems with quick target acquisition optics. Their performance was impressive, with most achieving 6 to 8 first-round hits out of 10 targets. The Swedish captain managed 9 first-round hits, setting a high standard for the remaining shooters. When her turn came, Maria approached the firing line knowing she faced a significant disadvantage. Her bolt-action rifle required manual operation between each shot, costing precious time when targets appeared and disappeared quickly. Additionally, her scope lacked the quick zoom capabilities and illuminated reticles that helped other competitors rapidly acquire targets. The first target appeared at 650 yards, a standard military silhouette that would remain visible for 12 seconds. Maria acquired the target, calculated the wind drift, and fired. Her shot struck center mass, earning maximum points. As she worked the bolt to chamber a fresh round, the second target appeared at 500 yards. This target would only remain visible for 8 seconds. Maria completed her bolt manipulation, acquired the new target, and fired again. Another center hit, but she noticed how the bolt action cycle consumed valuable time that semi-automatic shooters did not lose. The third and fourth targets appeared simultaneously at different ranges, testing the shooter's ability to prioritize and engage multiple threats. Maria chose the closer target first, scoring another center hit. But by the time she had cycled the bolt and shifted to the second target, it had disappeared. Her first missed opportunity, target 5, appeared at maximum range, 800 yards, with only a 6-second exposure window. This represented the most challenging shot of the sequence, requiring immediate range estimation and wind compensation. Maria's experience with her rifle served her well. She had fired this weapon at 800 yards, hundreds of times, and knew exactly how to hold for the distance and wind conditions. Her shot connected solidly, impressing the observers who understood the difficulty of making such a shot so quickly with a bolt-action rifle. However, while she celebrated this success, Target 6 had appeared and disappeared during her bolt cycle for Target 5. The pattern continued through Targets 7, 8, 9, and 10. Maria's accuracy with the shots she could take remained exceptional. Every target she engaged was hit on the first round, demonstrating the intimate knowledge she had of her weapon's capabilities. But the time cost of manual bolt operation meant she could only engage 7 of the 10 targets. When the course concluded, Maria had achieved 7 first-round hits out of 7 attempted shots, a perfect accuracy rate that no other competitor matched. However, the 3 missed engagement opportunities cost her valuable points in the overall scoring. Captain Lindqvist approached her after the scores were calculated. "Your accuracy was flawless," he said with genuine admiration. 7 shots, 7 perfect hits, but the missed targets cost me the day. Maria finished. "I know. A bolt-action rifle simply cannot compete with semi-automatic weapons in rapid engagement scenarios." The final scores confirmed what everyone had observed. Despite her perfect accuracy, Maria finished 4th for the day, behind 3 competitors who had managed to engage more targets, even though their hit ratios were lower. The mathematics of rapid engagement clearly favored modern semi-automatic systems. However, something unexpected happened during the score announcement. Colonel Hayes addressed the gathered competitors with observations about the day's performance. "Today we witnessed something remarkable. she began. While Sergeant Santos was unable to engage all targets due to her equipment limitations, she achieved something that military snipers train years to accomplish: perfect first-round hit probability under time pressure. 7 targets engaged, 7 targets neutralized. In actual combat, that performance would be exceptional. Major Richardson nodded in agreement. In a real battlefield scenario, a sniper who never misses is more valuable than one who fires more rounds, but achieves lower accuracy. Senior Lieutenant Volkov offered another perspective. In my military experience, the ability to make every shot count is more important than the ability to fire rapidly. Ammunition is limited in combat, and revealing your position with missed shots can be fatal. The discussion that followed revealed an interesting divide among the competitors. Those with extensive combat experience recognized the value of Maria's approach, while those focused purely on competitive scoring saw only the missed engagement opportunities. Hauptfeldwebel-Weber raised an important point. The question is whether we are measuring the best competitive shooters or the most effective combat snipers. These may not be the same thing. As the day concluded, Maria reflected on the challenges her equipment choice presented. She had proven her rifle could achieve exceptional accuracy, but the rapid engagement scenario had exposed clear limitations. Tomorrow's final challenge would determine whether precision trumped speed in overall performance. That evening, she spent time researching the history of her rifle's previous owner. Using military records databases, she traced the unit patch to the 5th Marine Regiment Scout Sniper Platoon, which had operated in the Pacific Theater during 1944 and 1945. The record showed that Gunnery Sergeant William Ghost Morrison had carried a similar rifle and achieved the 97 confirmed kills referenced on the patch. Reading Morrison's service record, Maria discovered that his approach to sniping emphasized patience, precision, and making every shot count. His documented philosophy was that missing a shot was worse than not taking it, because missed shots revealed position and wasted ammunition that could not be replaced in combat conditions. This historical context added new meaning to her competition performance. While her bolt-action rifle had prevented her from engaging all targets rapidly, it had forced her to adopt the same methodical approach that had made Morrison legendary. Every shot she took was carefully calculated and precisely executed. The more she learned about Morrison's techniques, the more she understood why her rifle performed so well. Morrison had spent months learning every characteristic of his weapon, documenting its performance under different conditions, and developing an intimate understanding of its capabilities. That knowledge had been passed down through the rifle itself, reflected in its careful maintenance and professional modifications. As she prepared for the final day, Maria realized that she was not just competing with an old rifle, she was carrying forward the legacy and methodology of one of the most successful snipers in military history. The weapon they had mocked represented a proven approach to precision shooting that had succeeded in the ultimate test: actual combat. Tomorrow's challenge would reveal whether that proven approach retained its value in modern circumstances. The scenario-based event would test adaptability, fieldcraft, and decision-making under pressure. Unlike the standardized challenges of the first 2 days, tomorrow would simulate the unpredictable conditions where Ghost Morrison had earned his reputation. Maria fell asleep that night with renewed confidence in her equipment choice. She was not trying to prove that old weapons were superior to new ones. Instead, she was demonstrating that fundamental principles of marksmanship, patience, precision, and intimate knowledge of one's equipment remained as relevant today as they had been in 1945. The emblem on her rifle case told a story that went beyond equipment specifications and competitive scores. It represented a legacy of proven performance under the most demanding conditions imaginable. Tomorrow, she would find out if that legacy still had power in the modern world. The final day dawned gray and humid, with intermittent rain showers that would add complexity to the concluding challenge. Unlike the previous 2 days of standardized shooting, today's scenario-based event would test each competitor's ability to adapt to unpredictable field conditions while making critical decisions under pressure. Maria arrived at the briefing area to find the atmosphere markedly different from the competition's opening day. Gone were the dismissive glances and mocking comments about her equipment. The other competitors now watched her with the measured respect accorded to someone who had proven their capabilities despite unconventional methods. Colonel Hayes outlined the day's challenge to the assembled marksmen. Today's scenario simulates a real-world reconnaissance mission. Each competitor will navigate a 2-mile course through varied terrain, identifying and engaging specific targets while avoiding non-combatant markers. You will face unknown distances, changing environmental conditions, and time pressure. Most importantly, you will make decisions that reflect real operational requirements. The scoring system reflected military priorities rather than pure marksmanship. Accuracy remained important, but factors like target identification, shot discipline, and tactical movement would significantly impact final results. Each competitor would face the course individually, with officials monitoring their performance and decision-making process. Captain Lindquist approached Maria during the equipment check period. "Today's challenge seems designed for your style of shooting," he observed. "Careful target identification, precise shot placement, and fieldcraft, rather than rapid engagement. Every challenge favors some approaches over others," Maria replied while checking her rifle's scope mounts. "The key is understanding what your equipment does well and using it effectively within those parameters." Major Dubois joined the conversation, his earlier skepticism replaced by professional curiosity. "I have been thinking about what you said yesterday, about learning to use what your equipment offers rather than compensating for what it lacks. There is wisdom in that approach." Senior Lieutenant Volkov nodded in agreement. "In combat, reliability and predictability are often more valuable than advanced features that may fail when needed most." The first competitor began his course at 0800 hours. Through radio communication, the other participants could hear updates about his progress. The course included 6 potential engagement opportunities at ranges from 300 to 1,200 yards, but not all targets would be legitimate. Some markers represented non-combatants that competitors must identify and avoid engaging. Maria's turn came fourth in the rotation. She entered the course carrying her Springfield rifle, basic field gear, and the confidence that came from 2 days of proving her weapons capabilities. The course began in dense woodland that required careful movement to avoid detection by simulated enemy observers. The first potential target appeared after 30 minutes of movement. A silhouette at approximately 400 yards visible through a gap in the trees. Maria studied the target through her scope, noting details that would determine whether engagement was appropriate. The silhouette wore military gear and carried what appeared to be a weapon, qualifying it as a legitimate target. She settled into a stable shooting position against a fallen log, calculated the range and wind effects, and fired a single shot. The target fell immediately, indicating a successful engagement. Maria cycled her bolt, chambered a fresh round, and continued moving through the course. The second potential engagement presented a more complex scenario. At 650 yards, 2 figures were visible near what appeared to be a military checkpoint. One figure clearly carried military equipment, while the second appeared to be a civilian. Maria observed both figures for several minutes before determining that only one presented a legitimate target. Her shot eliminated the military figure while leaving the civilian unharmed, demonstrating the target discrimination that separated professional snipers from mere marksmen. The precision required for such selective engagement played to her rifle's strengths. The third opportunity tested her equipment's limitations. 3 targets appeared simultaneously at different ranges between 800 and 1,000 yards, remaining visible for only 90 seconds before disappearing. With a bolt-action rifle, Maria could realistically engage only one target during the available window. She chose the most tactically significant target, a figure positioned to observe the entire valley where other targets might be concealed. Her shot at 950 yards required careful calculation of wind, drift, and bullet drop. But her intimate knowledge of the rifle's ballistics served her well. The target fell with her first and only shot attempt. The fourth engagement opportunity arrived after another hour of tactical movement through increasingly challenging terrain. Rain had begun falling steadily, adding moisture to the air that would affect bullet trajectory. At 1,100 yards, a single target appeared in an observation position that would be difficult to approach. This represented exactly the type of long-range precision shot that had made Ghost Morrison legendary in the Pacific Theater. Maria settled into her shooting position, accounted for the weather conditions, and fired a single round that struck the target center mass. The engagement demonstrated why her rifle had been so effective in its original military role. The fifth potential target created an ethical dilemma that tested judgment as much as marksmanship skill. At 600 yards, a figure in military gear appeared to be surrendering, with hands raised and weapon discarded. Military rules of engagement prohibited attacking surrendering enemies, making this a test of shot discipline rather than shooting ability. Maria correctly identified the scenario and held fire, earning maximum points for proper target discrimination. Several competitors had failed this test, demonstrating that technical shooting skills meant nothing without proper judgment and discipline. The final engagement presented the course's most challenging scenario. At 1,200 yards, the maximum range for the competition, a target appeared briefly on a ridgeline before disappearing behind cover. The target would reappear unpredictably, requiring the competitor to maintain readiness for an extended period while remaining concealed from simulated enemy observers. Maria positioned herself carefully and waited. Her bolt-action rifle demanded patience, but patience had always been a sniper's greatest tool. After 23 minutes, the target reappeared for approximately 8 seconds. Maria's shot connected at the extreme range, completing the course with perfect target identification and engagement. When all competitors had completed the course, Colonel Hayes announced the results that would determine the overall competition winner. The scenario-based challenge had revealed significant differences in approach and philosophy among the participants. Today's exercise tested the complete skill set required of military snipers, Hayes explained. Technical marksmanship is only one component. Target identification, shot discipline, tactical movement, and decision-making under pressure are equally important. The final scores reflected these priorities. Maria had achieved perfect target identification and engagement, demonstrating the shot discipline and precision that characterized professional snipers. Her careful approach and intimate knowledge of her equipment had served her exceptionally well in realistic field conditions. Captain Lindquist finished second overall, his modern equipment allowing rapid target acquisition but resulting in one incorrect engagement decision. Major Dubois placed third, having achieved excellent marksmanship, but struggling with target discrimination under pressure. When Colonel Hayes announced that Staff Sergeant Maria Santos had won the overall competition, the response from her fellow competitors was immediate applause rather than surprise. Over 3 days, she had transformed from an object of mockery to a respected professional who had demonstrated the continuing relevance of fundamental shooting principles. Sergeant Santos has reminded us of something important, Hayes continued. Military effectiveness is not determined by equipment specifications or technological advantages. It comes from the warrior's skill, judgment, and intimate understanding of their tools. Major Richardson approached Maria during the awards ceremony. "I owe you an apology," he said sincerely. "I judged your equipment without understanding its capabilities or your skill in using it." "Your equipment is impressive," Maria replied. "It offers capabilities that my rifle cannot match. But every weapon system has strengths and weaknesses. The key is knowing how to use what you have effectively." Hauptfeldwebel Weber examined Maria's rifle one final time. "I understand now why you chose this weapon. It forces you to be a better shooter, because it offers no room for error or lazy technique." Senior Lieutenant Volkov offered perhaps the most insightful observation. "You have demonstrated that technology should enhance human skill, not replace it. Your rifle requires you to master fundamentals that some modern systems allow shooters to ignore." As the competition concluded, Maria reflected on what the 3 days had revealed. She had not proven that old equipment was superior to new equipment. Instead, she had demonstrated that properly applied fundamentals of marksmanship remained as effective today as they had been 70 years earlier. Her Springfield rifle represented a direct connection to Gunnery Sergeant Morrison and the countless other snipers who had relied on skill, patience, and precision rather than technological advantages. The weapon they had mocked carried the legacy of proven combat effectiveness that transcended equipment specifications. During the closing ceremony, Maria was asked to speak about her experience and approach. "This rifle taught me that marksmanship is about more than hitting targets," she said. "It is about understanding your equipment completely. respecting the responsibility that comes with precision weapons, and maintaining the standards set by those who came before us. She touched the faded unit patch on her rifle case. This emblem represents 97 lives taken by someone who understood that every shot matters. That responsibility does not diminish because we have better technology today. The competition had proven several important points. First, that fundamental marksmanship skills remained as relevant in modern warfare as they had been in previous generations. Second, that intimate knowledge of one's equipment could compensate for technological disadvantages. Third, that the warrior's skill and judgment were more important than the sophistication of their tools. As Maria packed her equipment for the return journey, she noticed that several competitors had asked detailed questions about her training methods and approach to equipment mastery. The woman with the antique rifle had inadvertently become a teacher, demonstrating timeless principles to a new generation of marksmen. The emblem that had initially seemed like a curious historical artifact had revealed its true significance. It represented not just the achievements of a previous generation, but the continuing relevance of their methods and standards. Ghost Morrison's legacy lived on through his rifle and the principles it represented. Maria's victory proved that those who had laughed at her weapon choice had misunderstood what they were seeing. They had focused on age and appearance rather than capability and legacy. The Springfield rifle was not obsolete. It was proven. Its emblem did not represent the past. It represented enduring standards of excellence. The competition had become more than a test of marksmanship skill. It had become a demonstration that fundamental principles of warfare, precision, patience, discipline, and respect for one's tools transcended technological advancement. The weapon they had mocked had carried forward the wisdom and standards of previous generations, proving their continuing relevance in the modern world. As she departed the competition site, Maria carried with her not just a trophy, but a deeper understanding of her connection to the military snipers who had come before her. The rifle that others had seen as an antique was actually a bridge between past and present, carrying forward the lessons learned in combat and proven effective over decades of use. The emblem on her rifle case would never again be overlooked or underestimated. It had proven its significance in the most definitive way possible, through superior performance when it mattered most.